All right, let's talk about something that is pretty much every software developer's worst nightmare. We're going to tackle one of the oldest, most painful problems in our industry, and it all comes from a legendary book that everyone in tech should know, The Mythical Man-Month. So, let me paint a picture for you. You're on a team, the deadline is just breathing down your neck, and you are falling behind, way behind. Panic is starting to creep in, your manager's looking nervous. What's the first go-to knee-jerk reaction that pops into everyone's head?
Yup, you guessed it. Just throw more people at the problem, right? It sounds so simple. More engineers means more hands on keyboards, means more work gets done faster. It's the classic management playbook. But what if I told you that obvious fix is actually the worst thing you could possibly do?
And this brings us right to the heart of the matter, the man-month myth. This whole idea is about one simple fact. When you're building software, people and time are just not interchangeable. You can't just swap one for the other and expect things to work out.
The author, Frederick Brooks, called this a dangerous and deceptive myth. And he wasn't being dramatic. It's this sneaky belief that if one person can do a job in 4 months, then you can just get 4 people to knock it out in 1 month. It sounds perfectly logical, but it's a total illusion. And it's the reason so many projects just fly completely off the rails.
So why is it a myth? Well, Brooks breaks it down beautifully. He says you've got 2 kinds of tasks. Some are partitionable, like harvesting a field. Sure, 10 workers are going to get it done way faster than 1 worker. You can just divide up the work. But building software, that's a whole different beast. It's unpartitionable. And Brooks had this amazing kind of brutal analogy for it. You cannot make a baby in 1 month by putting 9 women on the job. Some things just take the time they take.
Okay, so we know we can't just throw more people at the problem. But why not? What's the actual damage? Well, it turns out there's a really high cost to all that extra help. Brooks points to 2 huge, hidden penalties that pop up the moment you add new engineers to a team that's already struggling.
And here they are: ramp-up time and communication overhead. In plain English, that's the time it takes to get the new people up to speed and then the absolute chaos that comes from trying to keep everyone in sync. They might sound kinda harmless, but trust me, these 2 things can completely sink a project. Let's dig into that first one.
Right, so ramp-up time. A new person doesn't just show up and magically start shipping brilliant code on day 1, do they? Of course not. They have to learn the system, the architecture, all the weird quirks, the whole history, and guess who gets to teach them all that? Your best, most productive engineers, the very people who are actually getting the work done. So for a while, you're not just adding 0 productivity, you're actually going backwards because your star players are now full-time tutors.
But as bad as that is, ramp-up time is really just the opening act. The main event, the real project killer, is communication overhead. See, every time you add another person to the team, the number of ways people need to talk to each other to get things done doesn't just grow, it explodes. And this isn't just a feeling, it's math. The formula is n times n minus 1 divided by 2. Let's make that real. With a team of 5 people, you have 10 different communication channels to manage. That's already a lot. But add just 2 more people, making it a team of 7. Now you've got 21 channels. You have more than doubled the communication mess by adding just 2 engineers.
And this chart just shows you how insane that growth really is. Look at that jump. It's not a gentle slope, it's a rocket launch of complexity. And what does that mean in your day-to-day? More meetings, more Slack threads, more misunderstandings, more time spent talking about the work instead of, actually doing the work.
This is where it gets really ugly. Brooks called it the regenerative cycle of disaster. It's basically a death spiral. The project is late, so you add people. That creates more overhead and training costs, which makes the project even later. So what's the response? Add more people. It's a feedback loop from hell that just gets worse and worse until the whole thing implodes.
So you take the fact that software is complex, you add in the cost of training, and you multiply it by the explosion in communication. And what do you get? Well, you get what Brooks boiled down into one single, simple, and honestly pretty brutal law.
And there it is, Brooks' Law. Adding manpower to a late software project makes it later. Just let that sit for a second. It flies in the face of everything that seems logical. It's the exact opposite of what every manager instinctively wants to do. But decades of projects have proven him right. It doesn't just fail to help, it actively makes things worse.
Okay, I know. That's all pretty depressing. So if adding people is a trap, what are you supposed to do? Is a late project just doomed? Well, not necessarily. Brooks compared this situation to being stuck in a tar pit. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. But the good news is he also gave us a couple of ways to actually get out.
Here they are, the real options. And fair warning, neither one is easy. Option 1, reschedule. You just have to face reality, admit the original plan was wrong, and create a new realistic schedule. Option 2, trim the task. If that deadline absolutely cannot move, then something else has to give. And that something is the feature list. You have to start cutting things carefully and deliberately until the work actually fits the time you have left.
So really, the whole point here is to learn to recognize that gut reaction, that obvious fix, and to question it. Before you even think about adding someone to the team, you have to remember those hidden costs we just talked about. Because throwing more people at a late project, it's like seeing a fire and deciding the best solution is to douse it in gasoline.
Brooks's law isn't some dusty old theory. It's a very real, very practical warning sign for every single person who builds software. So I'll just leave you with this question. The next time you're on a project and you feel it starting to sink, when that panic sets in and it feels like you're stuck, you'll know you're in the tar pit. The real question is, how will you escape?